As many years as I am into my deconstruction journey, sometimes my religious trauma just washes over me. And if this is something that you have struggled with, I'm sure you will understand. And in moments like that, sometimes I think I am going to go to hell. One of these times happened recently at my grandmother's funeral. The cliff notes are my grandma is originally from Florida and she lived in Minnesota, which is where she passed. Her first funeral was up there, but last week my Minnesota family brought her urn down to Florida so she could have her Florida funeral, and also for her to be buried in her family cemetery. They also brought me some of her belongings, the ones that you can see behind me. My grandma was born in a really teeny town here in Florida, and there is a Southern Baptist church with a cemetery attached, and that is where all of her family is buried. There is only like 30 plots, and I swear over half of them are her relatives. So naturally, it was her wish to be returned there, and being part of that was really special. I know it is what she would have wanted. But in this video, we're going to talk about religious trauma, deconstruction, dealing with family members who have vastly different spiritual beliefs than you do, especially what that looks like in death, meaning I am a witch and I venerate my very Christian ancestors in my practice. And at the end, we are going to go through all of the items that I received, the ones that I am comfortable sharing anyway. They're all very old, vintage, so beautiful, and mean a lot to me. I have shared about my spiritual journey in the past. In fact, it is one of the most viewed videos on my channel, so I know a lot of you will resonate with this, and hopefully by opening up about this, it will help anyone who is going through something similar. Now, before we get into this, what prompted my religious trauma resurfacing, I want to say that I mean no offense to my family, my grandma, or Christians in general. Your faith is entirely your own, but mine is mine, and I deserve to talk about that. When I first deconstructed and started being open about my practice, I was so overly grateful to anyone who accepted me or didn't ostracize me. And this is not to say that I'm taking kindness for granted, but that is not normal. Someone accepting you for who you are, especially as it relates to your spiritual beliefs, is not a grand gesture. So that is my first word of advice. Know my page is a safe space for everyone, all walks of faith or lack thereof, non-witches, anybody. Unless you make this not a safe space for someone, then I will curse you. And know that any time that I am talking about Christianity, I am talking about the church as an institution, theology. I am not shaming individuals. Back to the funeral. Going into her service, I knew that it would probably bring up a few feelings for me. Being in a church usually does. And this situation was especially intense. It was a small Southern Baptist church with a really old school preacher, and I was already crying because it was my grandma's funeral, so it was really not looking good for me. Though it did start out really beautiful, some of my family spoke and sang classic funeral stuff. But then the preacher started condemning us. So that put a damper in things. And yes, I will be using humor to cope in this video. Within Christianity, there's this idea of original sin, meaning you were born sinful and need to be saved. And you do that by taking Jesus as your savior. Now, I find this troubling for a few reasons. It breeds purity and sin culture. It makes people feel dirty and unworthy, and I do not believe that idea for a second. I never have. It just makes me angry. People are not unpure simply for existing. He started saying that we're all sinners and the only way that we can be forgiven is through Jesus. And then they always do this. He started saying, even me, I am nothing without Jesus. Speak for yourself, buddy. I am everything by myself. And my morals, what make me good, revolve around kindness. I think that the value of someone's character is determined how they treat people, not if they accept someone else's religious beliefs as their own. An idea that has literally never made sense to me. At this point, my husband and I started looking at each other like, but no one else did. In fact, it was the opposite. The preacher would say, we are all unworthy, and the congregation would say amen. Then he said, and I wrote this verbatim, I would not be a man of faith if I didn't tell you this. When you die, you go to heaven or hell. I don't care what anyone else says. If you don't accept Jesus into your heart, you will never see Grandma again, because she will be in heaven and you will burn in hell for all of eternity. Please let me know if you think that is the most insane thing you have ever heard. And he did not just say this one time. 3 times he said something along the lines of, love Jesus or burn. And every time the crowd was full of hallelujahs and amens. No one batted an eye at what he was saying. I am not kidding. It was so bad. Colton and I talked after and said that if we had children, I don't know what we would have done with them there. His preaching scared the shit out of me, and I am nearly 25, years into my deconstruction journey. But suddenly, I felt like a little kid again. I could feel my inner child panicking. So if I had kids there, I don't know what I would have done. Covered their ears, left my grandma's funeral, which I'm sure would have gone over very well. But in my opinion, it was not a safe place for children. It was that kind of indoctrination that caused my religious trauma in the first place. And this is where I get conflicted, because yes, your faith is your own, but if you force it on your children through fear of eternal damnation, that is awful, and I will die on that hill. And it is such a false dichotomy. A false dichotomy is when you are presented with 2 choices, but there are very clearly more. The church says that you can go to heaven or hell. Heaven is bliss. Hell is the worst place in existence. So obviously anyone hearing this is going to say, yeah, I'd like to go to the good place. And automatically it gives weight to the belief in both. It implies that you believe in both of them, because they are really the only thing that exist within that frame of reality. But they don't have to. I don't believe in either. I don't believe in heaven or hell, so posing a choice between the 2 of them is completely illogical. A false dichotomy. But let's talk about those options for a second. Let's say that I am a good Christian. I accept Jesus into my heart and I go to heaven. But I know that there are people burning in hell for all of eternity. How could you sleep at night? How could you go to heaven at the expense of others going to hell? How do you believe in a God like that? If I am wrong, and heaven and hell both exist, I would rather go to hell, because my moral compass would not allow me to go to heaven. But it does scare me when these questions come up. What if I am wrong? I have denounced my baptism. It is too late for me. But I have found peace in that even if I am wrong, and I should have been pining to go to heaven, I would not go. I could not spend my afterlife at the expense of others, with a God who would do that to people simply for not believing in him. And that is what I remember when these feelings come up, and maybe sharing that, it'll do the same for you. I have a few things like that, my life preservers, if you will, things that I hold on to. Like, if their God is omnipresent and all-powerful, why does he let bad things happen? And why would I worship someone like that? And together they illustrate why he is not my God. I don't believe in his existence or Christian mythology, but if he is real and it is all real, I am happy with my choices. If you are going through the same thing, I recommend making that list for you to look at it when things get tough, when these questions come up. Another thing that brings me peace is the experience I have had with those that I have lost, especially those who have had very different religious beliefs than me, my grandma now included. She is one of several people who I knew in this life who would not have generally agreed with my practice. In fact, she never knew. But in death, I find that it doesn't matter. I venerate these people in my practice in my death work. I leave them offerings, communicate with them, and not once have I felt like what I was doing was wrong. Not once have I felt like I was upsetting them. And I personally believe that that is because when you cross over, all is revealed to you, and what we have been arguing about ceases to matter. This is always something that I like to mention for those of you who might be nervous to build a relationship with those people in death. I have found that sometimes death is the best place to build that relationship, especially if those conversations were never possible in life. It's a weird space to exist, and it really shows that two things can be true at once. And this is what so much folk magic feels like. I do not incorporate Christian elements into my practice, but I know a lot of people who do, especially Catholic folk practitioners, who incorporate Catholic elements within their practice, not because they believe in the Christian God or resonate with Christian mythology, but because their ancestors were Christians, and incorporating those elements makes sense as a way to venerate those people. I don't imagine that'll be something I will ever do. I have other ways of venerating my ancestors, like having their things and having conversations about how their beliefs were different than mine. And I find that these conversations strengthen my religious beliefs and help me unpack my religious trauma one box at a time. But with that, let us unpack some real boxes and show you some of the things that were left behind for me. Let's start with jewelry. In the last video, I mentioned how much she loves jewelry, as do I. And these I have already put into my own jewelry box. I haven't worn these yet, mainly because I've been scared to wear them. I don't feel like these will be my everyday pieces. I'll probably only wear them for special occasions, mainly because I don't want anything to happen to them, and I'm just always getting into something. I should not have put this on because now I want to wear it every day, but I don't want anything to happen to it. This next one is like a princess necklace, and it feels very magical coated. How do I open this? I am absolutely supposed to go to a ball in this. Now these next items, I have never seen them in her house, but they are dolls. I haven't researched them at all. Oop, I forgot his hat. Sorry, sir. He looks like a newspaper boy, I think. And she has these beautiful braids and then is wearing this scarf on her head. Her dress is so pretty. And oh, look at the details in like the shoes. And they're made out of like hard something. They're hard, but they also move. Like her arm is not hard. Her hand and her face, they are hard. They look old, so I'm gonna research, see if I can figure out where they come from, or if anyone has seen these, let me know. One thing about my grandma, she collected shoes. Not for your feet, though she had a heck of a collection of those too. Miniature shoes. I think this one might have a peacock on it. All different styles. She traveled a lot, so wherever she could pick one up. And I have a couple of them, and I'm thinking that I will turn them into Christmas tree ornaments. I just can't get over all of the small details in these. These are clogs from Holland. And some of them already have like these little eye holes. So these will be really easy to just hang up, but if they don't, I might try to glue some on or tie them on the shoe in some way, because I think having these around at Christmas would be super sweet. When I think of Christmas, I think of my grandma. She always made it really special. Grandmas are the holidays. I did get a couple Christmas specific items. I don't know what you would call this. I want to say doily, but it also could go in your hair, like perhaps like a little scarf. These aren't big enough to be like headbands, but I feel like I could tie my hair with them and that would be really pretty. I also got a Christmas print that she had hanging up in her house. I just love the kids in bed and Santa Claus with his toys falling out of the sack. Looks like there's a little drummer boy, a doll, some mistletoe, some sort of book, and then the lantern. I absolutely love the colors in this. So this will definitely be going up in my house during that time of year. My grandma kept every letter anyone ever sent her. And these are a couple that caught my eye. They are all old Valentine's Day cards. Some of them are written to lovers and friends. And I think I would like to put these all together in a frame and hang it up around my house during Valentine's Day. You guys know I absolutely love decorating for the seasons, and to have something like that I think would be really special. I did also get some pictures of her and her girlfriends. So I'll probably add some of those. I do have one that I want to show you, but I think that it's a little too scandalous to show. It's not like, you know, graphic by any means, but my grandma probably wouldn't want me to show you these. It's her and some of her friends, and they're mooning the camera their underwear. It feels like Little Women coded, or Sylvia Plath. And I did get hundreds of photos from her life. I swear, my grandma stepped right out of a Nancy Meyers movie. Every single outfit that she has ever worn was good. Definitely a style inspiration for myself. Another thing she collected, besides the shoes, I'm starting to realize my grandma just collected a bunch of small things. Aside from the shoes, we've got this little purse. In her travels, one of the places that she visited the most often and loved was France. Now, funnily enough, I am primarily French. She was a little French on her side, but my dad's family is nearly entirely French, and it is the part of my ancestry that I have the most direct connection to. And so I got a couple things from France that she acquired in her travels, and these will be great to use in my practice to honor her and then my ancestry as a whole. I love tapestries, so maybe I'll frame these, hang them up, and again, the colors are just so good. Made in France. Growing up, my grandma always had the most beautiful vanity ever, and I want a vanity so badly. Although when I do my makeup, I need a sink, or at least I think I do. I've always used a sink to do my makeup, but I love a makeup vanity just in a bedroom, and that's what she had, and she would just sit and do her makeup, and I would absolutely love a setup like that. So I asked for some of the things that she had on her vanity to add to mine. Now, these won't really be used, but just as decoration. And one thing that I got was her hairbrush. Now, I don't think that she even uses too much later in life. It was more of a decoration. It's a little dirty. I should clean this off. I just don't want to damage it in the process because it is so precious. And the bristles are really not great, but maybe I could even replace them. But this is so pretty, and I'm pretty sure that this is from France as well. The final things that I got are some vintage perfume bottles. This one is Miss Dior, and this one is unnamed. But I absolutely love these, and I think that they look so pretty on a vanity or in my bathroom or even on like a fireplace mantle. Maybe I'll have to see if they still make this. I'm not too well versed in perfumes, but I am so grateful to have this to smell and bring me back to her. I hope that you've enjoyed this slightly bittersweet video and you have found some solace in some part of it. To keep up with me between uploads, there is a link down below to all of my other platforms, as well as to join my Discord, buy my book, or book a reading with me. And until next time, have a magical rest of your day, blessed be, and goodbye, everyone.